You know what's funny? I never got the whole thing about not being black enough. I never understood it from my standpoint. And I'm thinking about this because this is a video I had to stop because this is about 44 minutes long. I was like, should I make a reaction video to it? And I'm like, oh, it's 41 minutes long. I don't know if I want to stick to that. And if I do, I'm going to have someone in there that, feel that, probably one of my friends that probably went through this because I don't feel like I've ever been through this. Even though, okay, I love it. It's like everything that's considered nerdy, I was into, but I was also into sports. Now, like I'm the type of dude that I can watch, and this is like me growing up. I would watch Dragon Ball Z, Tenchi Muyo, Sailor Moon, anything that was on Toonami, that introduced me to anime. I was into all of that. But I was also into sports as well. Like I can watch Pardon the Interruption and watch Dragon Ball Z without a blink of an eye. I could also watch Power Rangers, which I fucking love to this day, especially Mighty Morphin. I could watch Power Rangers and I could watch New York Undercover or Martin. Like I knew all the sitcoms. It's just like I never, because to me it was all black. Even Dragon Ball Z. I tell people all the time. You know what's funny? Because people's like, "Oh, you get nerdy because you watch the Dragon Ball Z," and I've always said Dragon Ball Z is about the blackest thing on fucking television. Niggas literally pull up to go run a fade, and that was my joke for like the longest. It's just like, um, yeah, wrestling. Oh, it's like you could like, especially if you was a kid in the '90s, you loved wrestling. Didn't matter who it was. You was either a fan of a Stone Cold or The Rock or Shawn Michaels or The Undertaker, whoever the fuck. It's just like I never felt out of place with the things. If anything, I will say this. I think now that I think about it, I've always adapted me personally. I guess that's why I never had these problems that black nerds had. And even to like my father say, "Yeah, you're very nerdy." I'm like, I'm not as nerdy as my counterparts. And I've always like brought that out to people. It's just like you think you know nerdy, you don't know nerdy. I'm like I don't want to say I'm the gatekeeper, but I just like I'm one of those people that I can transition in and out, and I've always said that about myself. It's like at one because there was, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a couple people who was just like, oh, I didn't know you was into that. It was like, what makes you think I'm not into it? He was like, it's like I get those conversations, and it's just like I hit it with the when you assume you make an ass out of you and me, but if I don't want to make it a big spectacle, I was like, yeah, I'm into it. I was like, but I was never. But here's the thing, me personally, and I'm speaking on me personally, I never hit it. Niggas talk about you like Power Rangers? Fuck yeah, I did, and you did too. And that was always my reaction. It's like especially when like some dudes they try to be tough and it's just like, oh, I'm not into that anime shit. Nigga, guess the fuck you are. Nigga, I was like, you like before like Marvel got really popular. Niggas love Spider Man, and I keep telling people it was just like Spider Man was loved always. Like niggas, it's a couple cartoons that people love, even if because they last long. Superheroes like your Batman's, your Superman's, your Spider-Man's, your X-Men, especially Wolverine and Gambit. Niggas love those because there's always a character you can relate to and you think is really fucking cool. Gambit was mine. Spider-Man, obviously, and Batman. Fucking love Batman. Power Rangers. Power Rangers is a big part of my integral childhood, especially my Morphin. I was a big fan of Zach. When I tell you, when Zach left, and I was probably one of the most pissed Power Ranger fan. Now, it didn't stop me because Aisha fine ass, in which I met both of them. I met both Walter Emmanuel Jones and Karen Ashley at a convention. I got pictures with both of them, and you could tell like and this is a side note. Karen Ashley was like a childhood crush of mine, and I told her that too when I was a. It's like you was fine. I was like you still is, but you was like one of my biggest. I was like biggest childhood crushes and some shit like that, and like you could tell like when I took a picture with her, I had a big ass smile. It was like it was from wall to wall. So, but I've never had that. I never had that. I was one of them niggas that watched everything except Seinfeld. I watched a little bit of Seinfeld, but it's like I couldn't get into Seinfeld. I watched The Simpsons. I watched King of the Hill, Family Guy when that became popular. But you also caught me watching basketball. I watched football. Like I like I knew stats. Like you know how some sports dudes knew stats and all that stuff. I knew stats of, and I knew like my players, especially the Cowboys. I knew my players probably because I played Madden, and Madden you get to understand your players, especially your offensive linemen. So I understood. Not only did I play it, I understood everything. I understood football and all this stuff. I played sports too. Like I played basketball, I played football, baseball. I wanted to be a baseball player. I wasn't that good. I wanted to be the next Griffey. I even tried to emulate my swing like him. I batted just like him. I wanted to emulate Griffey. I still wear the number 24 because of Griffey. And people, I know people think of 24, you think of Kobe. May God rest his soul. Well, I used to tell people because I play a lot of 2K. If you see me with the number 24, it's not because of Kobe, it's because of Ken Griffey Jr. I understand that's baseball and not basketball, but that's why I always wore 24 because I fucking love Griffey. But even then, like I can go and watch anime. I watched like I said, the Dragon Ball Z's, anything that was on Toonami. I knew Inuyasha when it was Adult Swim, and Samurai Champloo, all those. I never felt out of place anywhere. But I also was real with myself as well. It's just like anybody talk about sports. It was just like I help my own. It's just like, oh, this person's not gonna win. It's like I still get like I still hang out with a bunch of niggas. Like I found a bunch of people where I can just be myself. I don't have to worry about like being because I was always myself. I think a lot of people. I always felt sorry for people who had to hide that dirtiness in them. It's just like to fit in, and it's just like I never had to do that. One, I know how to adapt. Yeah, I know how to adapt. Even if I didn't know anything, I would take time to try to understand. Like I tried to understand like the whole where Cardi B wore that Terry Mugler, and I was like, that's an ugly ass dress. And a couple people that I knew that was into fashion, they was telling me about it. I told them, I said, I literally watched the show. I watched one of the Terry Muglers. I was like, I get it now. Okay, so that shit is just art. I was like, I like the stage, and I was telling him, I like the stage setup. I like the way he presented his outfits, and I could see where Rihanna got her ideas from because I think she got most of her shit from Terry Mugler. That is my opinion. I could be wrong, but if you ever watched one of Rihanna's Fenty lines, and it very well mimics Terry Mugler, but with a better production, probably because we're in of modern times. But uh, but yeah, it's just like I go to anime conventions. I don't cosplay because not because of I think it's lame. I actually respect it because there's a lot of money, is a lot of time to be putting in it. I just know me. I'm very one of those dudes where like the first 2 hours, I'm probably like doing the poses and all that other shit. At the end of the day, I probably wouldn't give you 100%. And I know a lot of these people, they do that. They kind of want their attention. They show you. It's like if I do it, and I tell them if I do it, I'll probably be Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat. Because one of my favorite fighting game characters, and I think he's just swagged out to the fullest. But like I said, that's an Asian brother. But I've always, at times, I do feel like I'm a man without a country. I will admit that. It's just like, but I never felt not black enough though. But there are times where I just felt like a man without a country because if I like fall off, like I feel like if I fall off, I feel like I lost a lot and have to catch up. And that's where, but that's a me problem. Like even with battle rap, I fucking love battle rap. I tell people all the time, I grew up on battle rap, hip hop. I knew hip hop artists better than hip hop artists knew hip hop artists. If you want to tell me, it's like I used to have these arguments about best rappers, but I've also had these arguments about you know can he beat Goku? I was like, I can have those arguments. I can have those arguments all day and still hold my own. Now, like Star Wars, I know that's Star Wars. That get into like the really nerdy thing. I did not know a lot about Star Wars. I know a little about Star Wars to like I know who Luke Skywalker was. I knew who Mark Hamill was. I know that James L. Jones was Darth Vader. Um, I know who, like, I knew who character was. I knew who Jar Jar Binks was. So even if I never saw the movie, I could understand the jokes. The Office, I had to binge watch that though. I was like, I'd never seen The Office, and there was like, you need to watch The Office. To this day, I still have not watched Naruto Shippuden, but I know a lot about Naruto. I know characters. I watched the first Naruto's when he was a kid, so I know all the characters like Rock Lee. I remember seeing Rock Lee versus Gar, and I'm like, yo, this shit is like Dragon Ball Z. I still watch Dragon Ball Z to this day. Do you know my reaction like when Dragon Ball Super and like when fucking Goku did that shit with Kale Kefla and he rolled the fucking her beam wave to do a fucking Kamehameha wave in her fucking face, and my reaction was just like everybody else, yo, what the fuck? This nigga Goku ripped this shit like Tony Hawk and shit, and just and it's like and fighting games, obviously, the Street Fighters, the Mortal Kombat, the Tekkens, and all the other shit. I'm very into it. I get into a lot of things where I can dibble that. Like I said, I can dibble dabble into a bunch of things and just like. But I do have a feeling if I'm slacking off on, I slack off hard because it's just like uh now like let's just say with sports. I don't even know my whole. I used to in my olden days. I used to tell you my whole Cowboys lineup. I barely know who's on there other than Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott and CeeDee Lamb. And but other than that, it was like I would look at who's there. Baseball, I knew my baseball team, especially Orioles, because I'm an Orioles fan. I knew 1 through 9 and the pitchers. I knew the fucking pitchers. I don't even know who the fuck is on my team no more. Like if I go watch baseball now and I go watch my Orioles play, I'm like, who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck are you? But I still love my Orioles. Um, I don't. But I've never felt like throughout that whole thing, I never felt like I wasn't black enough. But the weird part is, white people. When I was in the Navy, white people thought I lived in the suburbs, and I always felt that was weird. It's like, oh, you must have been from the suburbs. I'm like, nah, I grew up in the worst hoods. Like in Maryland, especially in PG County, I grew up in the worst hoods. Like when I lived in DC, I grew up in Berry Farms. It's just like when I moved to PG County, I moved to some of the worst hoods, especially in Forestville and Suitland. Um, I mean Hyattsville. When I lived in Hyattsville, we lived in a house, and that was a nice neighborhood. I would say that. But even then, like next to it was a fucking hood that a lot of people used to like do some dumb shit, and then sometimes they would come down to the houses. But other than that, it was like the nicest place, in my opinion, nicest place I ever lived at was probably Laurel, and that was an apartment complex. But even then, it had its bullshit. And Hyattsville, I would say Hyattsville was also a nice place to live at. A lot of black and Spanish people there though, but that's PG County. A lot of PG County is majority blacks and Hispanics. Um, yeah, but I never the one thing I've always known about like black nerds and blurs, and I would consider myself a black nerd, a blur. I guess if you would ask my man father, I'm like a nigga nerd. Like I know I know a lot of nerd lingo and nerd language, but I do nigga shit as well too. Like I tell people all the time, I'm a henny sipper. I'm the type of nigga to go to strip clubs. Nigga, I don't wear like I don't wear like the anime clothes. I wear like regular nigga clothes or some shit like that. I don't beef with anime clothes because some of the shit is fire. But like I don't walk around in the Koski road either. So and like um, but I know all the lingo. Like I'm not. It's like okay, I know who the fuck that is. Like I know who Boruto is, and I know who because one I do sit and listen to people, but I never. Like I said, I never felt like I never belonged anywhere. I always felt like I belonged here. Now there's times where I feel like no one like. I was like I don't be around people I don't like, but at the same time, there's places where I've never felt like I'm an outcast. Even around white people, there was times where I never felt like I was an outcast, especially when I was in the Navy, and my job was majority white people. I never felt like an outcast. Now, but when black people started coming in my job again, it was like my own little family. Like we was like our own little family or some shit like that. But them white boys were my brothers too, and I used to go drinking with them all the fucking time, and never felt out of place. So, like I said, like the one I don't blame black nerds for like not feeling like, because a lot of people say, oh, I used to get beat up for watching Dragon Ball Z or like watching any Tsunami because people like, you in that anime shit. Now, like, this has also helped me out in fucking high school. I learned how to cook niggas. Like, I learned how to Joan. This is like, especially when I got my, like, where I got to a point where, like, you couldn't tell me nothing. I learned how to Joan. So, and I always was the funny guy. So, like, Joning was easy. But I never, like I said, I never felt out of place. But there was people who was just like, yeah, they felt out of place because they talk. Now I talk proper, but I still, like I said, I like know some. I can still talk good. I never felt like code switching. You know how black people talk about we have to code switch. We was like I understand code switching, but I never felt like I never needed to do that. Well, for me, it's just like whether I'm talking proper or talking hood and some shit like that. That's still me. You're going to get me because that's why I never felt like I needed to code switch. I know how to talk to people. Hey, what's going on? Nice to meet you. It's just like I have a little, like I've always said this. I have a little flavor when I talk. I don't mind taking it. I don't mind doing that because you know why? Because you ever hear white people from Texas talk, and everywhere they go, they have their fucking accent. They can't knock. They can't get rid of that shit. And I said to myself, if them white folks with them Texas accent and they fucking deep Texas accent, they fucking I'm fixing, you're telling and all that other stuff at work, and no one says a fucking. You know what? It's like I'm gonna throw my. I said I don't give a fuck who they are. I'm throwing my slang out here. There's been a couple times it's like, yo, you lunching? Like I'm from DC, so no, you lunching? Or you weird? Or it's like, nah, you weird for that, fam. It's like I throw my black slingo everywhere I go. Oh, nah, you bugging? Nah, you. It's like, nah, you bugging for that, chief. It's just like now. There's times where it's just like they'll look at me and like, what? I said, oh, I took like one time I was like, nah, buck a you. And everybody was like, what? Buck a you? I was like, make a U turn. It was like, why didn't you say that? I did. When you was like, never heard buck a you before? It's like, no. It was just like, and I said that a bunch of white people. They made fun of me for it, but it was just like, you know what? I didn't care because it was just like they started using it. It was like, oh, should we bucker? Should we bucker you here? I was like, yeah, you should. Like I said, I've never been ashamed. I'm not gonna say it's a shame of your blackness, but I've never like was ashamed of being myself around people, whether it was for my favor or against my favor. You're going to get me, so I can understand that, which is why I like people like Stevie A. Smith. Like he's a brother from Queens. You're going to hear the Queens out of him. That's why I have a respect for New Yorkers because New Yorkers is just like that's how they talk, and people just accept that. So if you can accept a New Yorker, you just say, "Yo, I'm dead ass." Like there's a couple people at my job. It's just like straight New Yorkers, and they just, "Yo, I dead ass came in the interview like this, son. I was trying to get the interview. I was trying to get the job. Yo, you bugging me?" It's just like all aggressive. It's like, "Oh, you mad tight, son." It's, like I said, I fucking love it. Like I got so much love for my New York family, and plus I'm from New York, so I'm used to that shit. So, um, yeah, the, like I'm gonna continue watching this like Black Nerd video. I think I'm gonna get my thoughts after that, but I fucking always actually no, I am going to do a reaction video to that. I will. I can see myself doing a reaction video to that. And I don't know if I'm gonna do it tonight or I'm gonna just do it whenever I can. But we're gonna experiment. It's a 41-minute video. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. We'll see how it goes. But in conclusion, you know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of being yourself, whether it's nerdy or whether you a hood nigga and all that other stuff. Don't be afraid to be yourself because I feel like when you're your authentic self, no one can tell you shit. But it's also good to like venture. I will also say it's also good to venture into like other things. You would be surprised at what you like. And this is gonna be my last point. It's like stop knocking. I would say this because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see this in the video. We got to stop knocking people for liking things that's not stereotypically black. Even though everything we people make fun of that's not stereotypically black came from black people, and which is why I never make fun of anybody that's into rock because rock came from us. It's just like majority of music came from us. It's just like people didn't like jazz because jazz was like that white people shit. I said what? I've heard that for someone. Don't tell me where, but one black. You like that white people shit, jazz? And I looked at them. I said, "What, nigga? This is this is the origin of fucking hip hop right here." I remember saying that. I said, "Jazz is like the fucking origin of hip hop." Mixed with a little reggae and all that other stuff. You was like, you ever listen to fucking Tribe Called Quest? They use a lot of fucking jazz. You like horns. You're like, if you like horns, fucking come from jazz. All right. You, like it's a long time ago. I couldn't even tell you his face. It was just like, but I just remember just having that conversation. Someone saying jazz was white people shit, and that shit baffled my fucking mind. I had the Doc Rivers look. Um, but yeah, in conclusion, don't be afraid to be yourself. Even if sometimes I felt like a man without a country, I always felt like I just never felt like I didn't belong. Because like most of the time, it's just like I was just myself. And you know what? I got respect for that. Mostly people you do. But at the same time, that's my experience. I don't know about anybody else. That was my experience. But let me know what y'all think. Till then, my name is Oskino Flower, and I'm out. Peace.